What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's some of my early thoughts ahead of the Game Week 17 deadline. So I'm going to go through some key players that we need to talk about, some notes from the weekend, then some early thoughts on my own team as well. So let's get into it. So I guess we've got to start with the 6th highest scoring midfielder in FPL. And of course, that is Harry Wilson, now up to 78 points for the season, which felt like it basically came out of nowhere. And that's because he's done a Phil Foden over the last few weeks. So against Burnley, it was a 16-pointer. It was 8 against Palace, 8 against City, and 10 against Spurs. And in those games, the minutes have been pretty good as well. So 88 minutes in the last 2 game weeks, 81 against City, and 67 against Spurs. And with the players that Fulham have got going to African Cup of Nations like Iwobi, you'd assume that Wilson's minutes will continue to be pretty good over the next few game weeks. And actually, for the next 3 game weeks in particular, the turnaround time between games is pretty good. So they've just played this weekend. They don't play in Game Week 17 till Monday. So we'll definitely start that game. It's 5 days later for Game Week 18 against West Ham. So he'll definitely play that. And then you've got another 5-day turnaround for the Palace game. So there's no issues there. Between Palace and Liverpool, it's only 3 days. Between Liverpool and Chelsea, it's also 3 days. So maybe there's a reduction in minutes. But presumably, if he keeps playing like he has done, Marco Silva will just keep starting him. So I think from a minutes perspective and a price, he's looking pretty good, like 5.5 million. But I still stand by the fact I think it's a short-term move, which is absolutely fine. Absolutely, if that's the way it works for your team. But after Forest at home in 17, West Ham away in 18, it's then Palace away, Liverpool at home, Chelsea at home. They're not necessarily fixtures you'd want to play him in. If he's in as an enabler and it lets you get the rest of the squad you want, again, that's absolutely reasonable. I've got Dewsbury Hall in my squad. Unfortunately, he's now injured, but I'd plan to play him quite a bit. But I'd plan to play him because Everton's fixtures from 18 onwards are pretty good. That's why I never really considered Wilson. And the problem with buying him now is you've missed the Burnley game. Like last week, he was an even better short-term pick because you had Burnley, Forest, West Ham. Now you've got Forest and West Ham. So look, I think he's okay to buy. Like he's cheap, right? There's not too many players that price or below that are absolutely better than him. Like Elliot Anderson, maybe if you want like a player that will tick over with some defcons, etc. But at 5.5 million or below, absolutely you could argue Harry Wilson's the best pick. But I don't know. I can't imagine getting to game week 19 and we're still talking about him like this. Like even if he's done really well against Forest and West Ham, I'm going to look at those fixtures thinking this is the wrong time to buy him. Like you should have bought him before Burnley. So again, he's okay. He's overperformed like Dewsbury Hall recently. That's not going to continue forever unless he can get the XG expected assists up a little bit. I don't know. He's reasonable. He's a reasonable buy in the short term. If you've got that kind of structure where you need a cheap midfielder, absolutely fine. I don't know. Like a lot of people were asking on the stream last night, if I've got Dewsbury Hall, should I just move to Wilson? Like, if you could free up more money, there's other midfielders I'd prefer to go to, but they do cost quite a bit more. So if you can do it in one move, then yeah, it's fine for the next couple of weeks. I don't think you want him really too much after that. But for the price, he's probably fine. So Phil Foden's price rises have been kind of insane recently. I bought him on Friday. It's now Monday, and I've already made 0.1 million on him. I got him at 8.6, which was late compared to a lot of people, but he's already 8.8. And I suspect he'll be 8.9 before the Game Week 17 deadline. I've never seen anything like it. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But then again, so are his recent returns. Like 11, 12, 17, 15. That's his points in the last 4 game weeks. And the minutes have been pretty good as well. He's played 3 90-minute games in the last 4. The only one where he came off early was Sunderland at 68 minutes. The game was already won, and they had Real Madrid in the Champions League midweek. The minutes are just good. The returns are there. The stats are good as well. And the fixtures are fairly decent. So I know what's going through people's heads right now if you don't own. Exactly the same that went through my head last week. Have I missed the boat now? The double-digit returns are not going to continue. He's a really good player. He's not going to keep getting 10-plus points every single week. And a lot of people got him at like 8, 8.1, 8.2 million. You've now got to pay 8.8. Do you just ignore him? His ownership is so high. Like pretty much every single active manager right now will own Phil Foden. So is it just worth going against him? Maybe. I think it's a reasonable thing to think about, but I will say the fixtures are still quite good overall. Like my thought process before Game Week 16 was if I can just get through the West Ham game without too much damage, it's then Forest away, Sunderland away, and Chelsea at home. It's not that great of a run, but then look what he's done against Palace. He goes and scores again. and gets defensive contributions. Like if he can do that against Palace, Forest and Sunderland are not as difficult fixtures. They're not easy, but they're not as difficult as playing Palace away. So I don't. You've obviously missed the boat for a lot of returns, but I think the simple fact is Foden is just a good pick as long as the minutes are there. And I know the way his returns have come this season have been weird, right? He went game weeks 4 to 12 with hardly anything, and he's absolutely smashed it. But his rate of returns is probably somewhere in between that. So there might be the odd game here where he blanks, but he is regularly going to get you goals and assists over the next 4 or 5 weeks. And apart from the Chelsea game, I don't think there's necessarily that much to worry about over the next 6. Like West Ham at home is good, Forest away is fine, so Sunderland away, Brighton at home is okay, and Man United away, City could do well in that kind of game. So I think as long as the minutes are there, you can still call him a good pick. Now, the concern I always have, you've heard me speak about this before, is Man City players, they're always nailed right up until they're not. But we've got so much evidence that Foden's just part of Pep's plans week in, week out at the moment. I feel like you just buy him. Like you look at the minutes, right? He started every single game since game week 4, and most of them have been 90. I think at this point you just treat him as nailed until he's not. Like maybe this is just because I own him now, and so I'm being a little bit more biased towards him. I've got Saka and Foden. In some ways, I'm more confident that Foden will play every match over Christmas than I am with Saka, because Saka's got Madueke there. I just think for Foden at the moment, he's like one of the first names on the team sheet. I'm sure that will come back to bite. I'm sure he will get rested at some point. It just doesn't look like it. And Pep has said multiple times in the past, Foden's one of the best players in terms of recovery, and when he's playing well, you've just got to keep playing him. There was a Carabao Cup match weeks ago that was like a fully rotated team apart from Foden. He just played, and then he played the next match as well. So even if he plays Carabao Cup midweek, I'm not sure it's a massive problem. And you look at the gaps between games otherwise, 17 to 18, it's a full week off. So he'll play West Ham, he'll play Forest. Then it's a Saturday, Thursday turnaround. So presumably he'll play Sunderland as well. And he ain't going to miss Chelsea. Now, maybe because Sunderland to Chelsea is Thursday, Sunday turnaround, maybe he misses the Sunderland game. But is Pep really going to give him the 27th of December and then not play again until the 4th of January? I just don't see it. I think he's more likely just to get early subbed again. So I think you could see close to 90 against Forest, close to 90 against Forest, early sub against Sunderland, close to 90 against Chelsea, and then play again against Brighton. Sunday, Wednesday turnaround is more than reasonable for someone like Foden. So I think he's going to continue playing. And if he does, he's going to continue to score points. Not at the rate he's just done. It probably will even out a little bit, but he's still just a good pick. And if you want to back against him because you don't like high-owned players, I fully respect that. But if you're asking me, will he just keep getting points and will he be a good pick? Yes, and sometimes you just got to get those players in. Let's talk about Ekitike next. 4 goals in his last 2 Premier League matches. He's now 8.6 million, and lots of people thinking about bringing him in this week ahead of Spurs away, Wolves at home, Leeds at home, which does look quite nice. The first thing to say before you bring him in, he did look like he was in a bit of discomfort when he came off against Brighton. Now, some people on the stream last night were saying that was just crap, but I can't find anything to 100% say that was the case. There is an article on the Liverpool website about injuries after Brighton where Slot is talking about Gomez and Szoboszlai, but there's nothing about Ekitike. Now, that might just be good news. There's nothing wrong with him. But before you rush in to buy him, I'd probably wait for an update. Let's say he is fit for game week 17, though. Is he worth bringing in? Potentially. I think he's a pretty good option. I think Wolves at home, Leeds at home in particular, 18-19 look really good. And right now, I think there's a very good argument to be made. There's no justification to play Isak number 9 ahead of Ekitike. Obviously, they can both play together, and they might have to do that with Salah at AFCON and Gakpo obviously injured. But if we're just talking about that number 9 position, Ekitike's done much better. Isak just hasn't looked good. The problem is, that doesn't mean that Ekitike will start every game. If Slot only wants to play one of them, it could absolutely be Isak in any one of these games. And that's what worries me slightly. Now, Slot might look at it and say, I've got a guy that's just scored 4 goals in 2 games. Why would I change that? I need goals in this team. We've got some good fixtures coming up. I've got to play him. And I'm sure he will. If Gakpo remains injured and with Salah not there, I think Ekitike's minutes will be quite good. But so far this season, it's 75 minutes on average per start. So even when he plays, he's not often getting to 90 minutes. So I think he's a nice punt. And I see why people want to go there. And I wouldn't try and argue against it. But I don't think he's maybe quite as good as an FPL pick as is being talked about right now. Absolutely reasonable to go there because of the fixtures. And I think if you're on a 3-forward setup where you've got like a Voltamada or a Mateta and you want to get rid of them, you've got the money to go to Ekitike. Again, I really like it in one move. But for those people that are on like a 2-forward structure, I'm not convinced it's worth using 2 or more transfers to get Ekitike in. I don't think he's that good, especially when it's Spurs away next game. Now, Spurs is not necessarily the worst team to go and play right now, but I think when you're looking at the next 3, really the 2 games you want are Wolves and Leeds, so you could always come back to it in game week 18. So I like him. I think the longer Gakpo is out, the better he is in terms of minutes, but I guess it's still not guaranteed. I mean, I don't know, actually. I say it's not guaranteed. If Szoboszlai's out and Salah's not there and neither's Gakpo, it almost feels like Ekitike has to play. Like Ekitike and Isak behind Wirtz. So potentially he will just get 3 starts next 3 game weeks. It's just about how many early subs he gets. One thing I will say, watching that Liverpool-Brighton game and having seen Ekitike a lot this season, the guy loves to shoot. And that's so good for FPL. Like you kind of want greedy players. You want them to shoot on sight. Because even if they don't score, you've got rebound potential for assists and stuff like that. So I do like him, but you're probably not going to see me buy him anytime soon. But that's more a structure thing. I just don't want to use multiple transfers to get one player when I could just move to a different midfielder in one move instead. So Cole Palmer has had just over 67,000 transfers in this week, which puts him 6th on the list of midfielders going into game week 17. He got a start against Everton in game week 16, scored as well, and a start against Bournemouth the week before. So I get why people are starting to consider him. For me, though, he is a very, very easy avoid until game week 22. If you look at the next 5 game weeks, 3 of the games are away from home and 2 of them are Newcastle and Man City, which is not ideal on paper. I know Newcastle may be a little bit inconsistent at the moment, but it's still not a game I would look to go out of my way to target. And then the 2 home games aren't super easy either. They're Villa and Bournemouth. Now, if this was Cole Palmer last season or the season before, you'd be looking at it like thinking, what are you talking about? Like, he's absolutely fine. The guy just gets goals and assists for fun. He's on penalties. He's absolutely nailed for 90 minutes every week. And I would say, yeah, fair enough. But that's not what Palmer is right now. He's a player that's not fully fit, that costs 10.3 million, that may not start all these games. And the games aren't that easy anyway. Like, the problem for me is the gap between the matches that Chelsea have. Now, people will rightly point out, Palmer will not play in the Carabao Cup. So between 16 and 17, it's a week's rest. And between 17 and 18, it's a week's rest as well. Absolutely fair enough. Palmer will probably start against Newcastle, probably start against Villa as well. But he's just started the last 2 games and not made it to 60 minutes. There is no guarantee he will play much past 60 in either of these 2 games. And then you've got gaps of 20. Basically, you've got Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday turnaround for the 4 games between 18 and 21. So 27th of December, 30th of December, 4th of January, 7th of January. I think the maximum amount of games Palmer will start here is 3. I would not be surprised if it's 2. I really wouldn't. Maresca will not take any chances. He's obviously not fully fit, otherwise he wouldn't have gone off before the 60th minute. They are going to manage him. Like, you do not want to lose him for a length of time like they already have. So I think he will probably start against Newcastle and Villa, probably bench against Bournemouth, start against City, bench against Fulham. I think it's quite likely he only starts twice in the 4 matches 18 to 21. That is not good enough for 10.3 million. We all know how good Palmer can be. He still costs quite a lot of money. And don't get me wrong, I've got Saka, and I think he's fine to hold for now. I would love the opportunity to go straight to Palmer while he's a differential. I just cannot justify that in any way right now. So I think he's got to be in a void. Like, if you're going for like a 1-week punt, maybe you do it. But is Newcastle away a 1-week punt kind of game? Maybe. Villa at home. Like, if I told you right now, Palmer's going to get 60 minutes in each. Like, let's say he's going to make it past 60, so you can potentially get the clean sheet point. He's going to play 65 minutes against Newcastle, 65 against Villa. It's not enough, especially with the games they've got coming afterwards. Now, 22 onwards, by the way, not only have they got a bit of a rest then, but because he could get rested in FA Cup or whatever, like, the fixtures are just really good. Like, Brentford at home, Palace away, West Ham at home, Wolves away, Leeds at home, Burnley at home. Trust me, I want Palmer for this run. I really do. But at least by game week 22, I've got another 5 game weeks worth of data to tell me how much he's going to play. And look, if he's only going to play 60 to 70 minutes in most of these games, that might be worth it because of how good the games are. It's not worth it right now, in my opinion. So I think Palmer is just a hard avoid. Simple as that. Like, do you know, I can't even think of a scenario where it's worth bringing him in. Even if you had Saka and you thought he was terrible, I'd almost rather downgrade him to someone. Like, let's say you don't have Foden, Saka to Foden, free up some money, use that for another spot. Like, in fact, that's pretty much what I would do with my team. Let's say we got to Friday and Arteta said Saka's out for a couple of weeks. I would do Saka to Semenyo. I would not look at Palmer even for a second. I'd go Saka to Semenyo, 2.7 million, upgrade Dewsbury Hall to someone 7.7 or below. Is almost certainly what I would do. I wouldn't even consider Palmer. So, great player. Hopefully a really good FPL pick sometime soon because the game needs shaking up a little bit. I just don't think you can go there. He's averaged 56 minutes per start this season. I'm not sure how much better that gets in the short term. So just a few notes from the weekend. For Everton, Dewsbury Hall unfortunately went off with what looked like a hamstring problem against Chelsea. So he's probably not going to be available for the next few weeks. David Moyes was asked about him after the game, but he didn't really give anything away. I'm not sure if that's because he thinks it's a really bad hamstring problem or not. But obviously we will hear from him again before the weekend's matches. And Moyes is quite open. So we'll find out how long he might be out for. The problem we've got at the moment is Christmas is coming up. The games come thick and fast. So even if you're only out for 2 weeks, you might obviously miss a ton of game weeks. I think with Dewsbury Hall, he was pretty benchable against Arsenal anyway. Like if he was back for game week 20, which is the 4th of January, let's say it was just a couple of weeks that he was out for, he might even be worth holding because 20 to 23 is really nice for Everton. Otherwise, you might have to look at selling. But we need an update before we can decide on that. Moyes also said that Grealish felt his hamstring. Like if Dewsbury Hall, Grealish and Njai, who's now at AFCON, are missing out, that does harm the Everton defense the Everton attack quite a bit and might make defenses that are playing against them a little better. But we'll have to wait for an update. For Brentford, Sharda's now back from suspension, and with Dango Utara at AFCON, Sharda's minutes should be pretty good. Wolves away, Bournemouth at home, Spurs at home, Everton away, Sunderland at home. I don't mind him as a low-owned punt who's quite cheap as well. I definitely wouldn't buy him over Semenyo this week, but if you need someone else, you could consider him. I wouldn't rush out and buy him, but if you're looking for someone around 7 million, definitely someone to think about. Arsenal, Ben White hamstring problem. Timber's minutes are now great again. They were already really good, but we saw him get benched for White in game week 14. There was a chance, maybe a small one, that Timber would get benched again over Christmas. That looks unlikely to happen now. Ben White hamstring problem. He's probably going to miss the next couple of weeks. Why he was played in that game against Wolves, I do not know, but that's probably a discussion for a different video. Saliba's now back as well. Arteta did say they risked Saliba. They didn't. I got the impression they didn't really want to play him, but because of the amount of injuries, they had to. Now, presumably, he'll just come in and play every single game. But I think if I was buying an Arsenal defender right now, Nkapie's cheaper and should be fine until Gabriel's back. The only thing with Nkapie is you might get into a position where Gabriel's just suddenly back and you don't know, and then Nkapie misses a game. That's worst case scenario. Otherwise, Calafiori's back from suspension. Obviously, Timber's a good option now as well. And then for Palace, it was another early sub for Mateta. He just doesn't seem worth it right now. The fixture's coming, like, if you wanted to keep him for Leeds, I get it. And he probably will get rested in the European match, but he seems to be managing a bit of a knee problem. He keeps coming off around 60 minutes. I don't think you can justify that for the price. I think sooner rather than later, if this continues, he's probably got to go. So just some early thoughts on my own team going into game week 17. I've got nothing in the bank, but I do have 3 free transfers still. So there is some flexibility there in terms of moving funds around if there's anyone that I want to sell. Right now, the plan is to roll, and I don't see that changing unless I pick up more injuries. So at the moment, I've got 2 yellow flag players. One is Dewsbury Hall, but I was going to put him second bench this week anyway. So he's not a massive problem for game week 17. And then Senesi, who obviously will see whether he plays tonight against Man United. And if he does, he's got Burnley at home. So I'm more than happy to play him in that game. So I'm set up in a 4-4-2. Raya and Nkapie double up, Everton away, Van Dijk Spurs away, Anderson Forest at home, and then Senesi Burnley at home. My midfield 4, I think, looks quite nice. I'm really happy with it at the moment. But things can change quite quickly. That is Foden, Saka, Fernandes, and Cunha. I know Cunha is not really liked as a pick at the moment, but I do feel like just one goal will probably change people's minds. Like for me, and this is always a different decision when you've already got a player rather than if you're thinking about buying them. He's got Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley to come in the next 5 game weeks. I just can't sell him. Simple as that. Would I prefer to have Semenyo instead of Cunha this week? Yes. But and Cunha's more expensive, by the way, so I could do Cunha to Semenyo, then back again when Cunha plays Wolves. But I'm not sure it's worth a transfer. Like, I've got 3 moves right now, and I didn't really want to use 3 transfers last week, but I just felt like I had an opportunity to get Foden, so I should take it. I didn't really want to do it, though. Now I've got 3, and I know 3 is quite a lot, but I want to build up back to 4 or 5. Because I don't... And look, again, things can change quickly in FPL. I don't foresee too much happening over the next few weeks in terms of players that I'm going to desperately want. Like, Semenyo's good this week. He's not bad for Brentford away in 18. Then he's pretty sellable again. I've just mentioned Sharda. He's fine, but I'm not sitting here in a panic because I don't own Sharda. So Bossline might be injured. There's not a huge amount of midfielders that I don't already own that I really want. And look, Ekitike looks okay at the moment. Jared Bowen's going to get talked about quite a lot. But I am not in a panic about getting any of these players. And I just feel like when we get to game weeks 2021, you've got, I think it's Arsenal and Liverpool play each other around then. Yeah, like 21, Arsenal and Liverpool play each other. And 22, I've just mentioned Chelsea have got a really good fixture run. And it's not just Cole Palmer I need to be thinking about. It's Enzo Fernandez and possibly a defender as well. So there's going to be transfers needed later on that are going to be more impactful than right now. So I really want to roll if I can. I don't think there's too many upgrades I can make to this team anyway without multiple transfers. I've got Vandenberg on the bench. That's probably my biggest decision. Do I play him instead of Van Dijk or Anderson? I'm probably going to bench Vandenberg, I think. That's my gut instinct, so I'm probably just going to stick with it. And then Thiago and Haaland up front. I mean, Thiago, like, his ownership and price is probably too high for how good he is, but that's just the state of forwards right now. So I'm just going to hold him. The fixture run's quite good. He's nailed and takes penalties. There's just no point worrying about that. And Haaland will be my captain. Like, I'm just really happy with how the team is set up. I do see some people out there with a little bit less money in defence that have got like a 5-man midfield. And that is pretty good. But I think this week in particular, having Senesi and Anderson in home games where they'll probably get DEFCONs, there's a chance of a clean sheet. I think I'm okay with that in a 4-4-2 rather than those on 3-4-3 or 3-5-2. Like, maybe I'll lose out in some weeks, but I don't know. I guess my biggest problem coming up is probably what to do with Dewsbury Hall. Because it's okay benching him this week, but I had planned to play him like pretty much every game from 18 onwards in a 3-5-2. I don't think it's the end of the world to play 4-4-2 a little bit. Like, we all acknowledge that DEFCON defenders are good, but there's still that like old school mentality. We've got to play 3-4-3 or 3-5-2. But I've played 4-4-2 quite a lot, and I'm kind of okay with it. Like, if you like Van Dijk, for example, he just gets played the next 3, probably the next 4 if I need to, against Fulham away as well. Like, even if he doesn't keep the clean sheet, he's got the goal threat. In Capier, I'm just basically treating like any other Arsenal defender until he stops playing. Like, if I had Gabriel, I wouldn't be considering selling. If I had Timber, apart from circumstances last week, I wouldn't be considering selling. So I'm just probably going to keep in Capier, Everton away, Brighton at home, Villa at home, and then just reassess. So him and Van Dijk can just get played every week. Anderson, I'm happy to play this week and next week against West Ham away. And next week, once Senesi's played Burnley, the fixtures aren't so good. Like Brentford away, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Spurs at home, Brighton away, Liverpool at home. He's very sellable. So I might actually buy someone like Michael Keane and just play 4-4-2 and just leave Dewsbury Hall on the bench for a bit. Like, I know Harry Wilson looks good right now, but I don't want to sell another player so that I can do Dewsbury Hall to Harry Wilson. There's no one I really want to sell this week. Cunha would probably be the one, but I cannot do it when he's got Wolves, Leeds and Burnley coming up. It's just not going to happen. Even if Cunha gets benched against Bournemouth tonight, which I don't think will happen, but I guess it's a possibility, even if that was to happen, I'd keep him because in Burma will be at AFCON after that game, and so Cunha will just play a lot. So I'm pretty happy with how the team is set up. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect every single week. But I knew once I got Foden in place that there'd be no other players that I would be panicking about owning. And that is the case right now. So I think things are well set up. Get to game week 18 with 4 transfers, hopefully. And then buy Michael Keane, still have 4 transfers in game week 19, maybe even roll 19 potentially. I think ultimately there's going to be a couple of times over the next few weeks that unless I make multiple transfers, I'm going to have to play like a player that's not quite so good. Like I might have to play Vandenberg in game week 19 against Spurs at home. I might have to play in game week 20 against Everton away. It's not the end of the world. to have that attack where I've got Foden, Fernandes, Saka, and Cunha. Like, I did just briefly consider last week not getting Foden for Palace and then selling Saka this week, because Saka's not as valuable now because I'm not going to captain him in any of the weeks coming up. I just don't see it. So I could sell Saka to free up some money, but I kind of want to keep that option open. I don't see Saka as a big problem right now. They got a week between Wolves and Everton, so Saka will start Everton. Then they got Carabao Cup between Everton and I think is it Villa at home the game after that? Let me just double check here. Brighton at home in game week 18. So they got Carabao Cup between 17 and 18. I'm pretty sure Madueke will just start the Carabao Cup game. Saka will get a rest, then he'll start against Brighton. So I don't until he's a proper minutes concern, I don't need to worry about him. Like maybe 19 against Villa because you've got a 3-day turnaround. Maybe Madueke plays Villa. But they lost to Villa. Surely you want to play Saka. As good as Madueke is, he's not Bukayo Saka. So until Saka becomes a problem, I almost want to be forced into selling him than going out of my way to do it. And I quite like keeping Saka as a route straight back to Palmer if I need it. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how things are set up. My plan is to roll. Hopefully Senesi's not back tonight, actually, because that will just make Bournemouth stronger. But hopefully he's fine for Burnley at home. Even if he's not, I'd probably just play Vandenberg. There would be a temptation in that scenario to make a transfer to make sure I've got cover, but I'd probably just roll and hope that all my players start. So, yeah, plan is to roll. I'll talk about it a bit more in team selection when I've seen the Man United match tonight, because Cunha gets injured, all changes. Although if Cunha gets injured, I'd just buy Semenyo. That seems pretty straightforward. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you tomorrow for transfer tips. And by the way, if there's any players you want me to talk about in transfer tips that I haven't done in this one, leave a comment below and I'll make sure to add some of them. See you then.